The Writers Guild of America is straight off of a strike, and now they're back into the frying pan. This time, they're categorizing all of their members as best they can using the immutable differences and the preferences they have when it comes to intimate parts of their lives. And why? Well, so they can set up representation and diversity quotas and all the rest. You know the drill. But the WGA may have stepped in it a little bit too much. This time, they may actually be afoul of the law. Hello, welcome back to another video of excellence here on the WDW Pro channel. Why is it excellent? Well, because you are here. Thank you so much, folks, for sharing your time with us on your devices and in your car and wherever we might be. A joy and a pleasure, as always. An attitude of gratitude here on the channel for each and every one of you. Today, we're talking about the WGA and talking about a very controversial document that they are pushing out to all of their members, trying to ascertain and figure out exactly what makes their members be their members, but not in any way that would have to do with their thinking or their thoughts, but rather simply by categorizing them according to their color of their skins and according to their genders and sexes and, well, all of those other intimate details. It's got some people not too happy. And it's time to bring on the panel to see, is it even legal? This out of Mr. Tickle Trunk, who is a viewer of the channel. He posted on Twitter, the WGA may now be openly committing civil rights violations in print on writer application forms. There's one checkbox they're missing from this, a good writer. And that's from you, Chris, and quite clever the way you put that. It says subscribe to Film Threat for future news and follow at Film Threat. And we agree totally about this. Chris, could you tell us, what is this story about? Give us a brief synopsis, and then let's dive into the conversation.
Well, it's blowing up to being an even bigger story, but effectively what the WGA has instituted is forcing all of their members to fill out a survey with certain identity markers, all having to do with sexual identity, gender identity, ethnicity, and it's very detailed. It's a very detailed document. Effectively, what this is to be intended to be used for is so that TV, when you're staffing up for television, you want to be able to get your diverse writer's room. But what I'm told, once this first story broke, which was last week, all of the guilds, and if you're affiliated with any guild that does work in Hollywood, that's everything from makeup, production design, you are being forced to basically self-identify through a series of a very long form of checkboxes. Like, I mean, it's so detailed. And I think I sent some of you screenshots. Jonas, I believe you have them.
Yes, sir.
And you're welcome to share them, by the way.
Okay, let me go find those real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important that you see how lengthy and the level of detail. We go over it in the video, but this was brought to my attention from a longtime friend who is in the WGA, and that person is about to nuke their career by outlining everything that's happened internally over the last 4 years that is destroying this organization and thereby destroying the industry. Where you are, it's effectively, I mean, this is not unlike the situation at Harvard, right? A lot of these are really just diversity hires for diversity hires' sake. And anyone that's in the Writers Guild and has been for a long time will tell you there's a mentoring that goes on. And generally, you probably need to be in the industry for about a decade or so. You know, you start as an assistant, you move on to this, you write some scripts, and then eventually you're in the writer's room, but you've earned your place. That doesn't matter now. What they want is they want things to be diverse, and they want it diverse now.
And they want it diverse according to their standards, to immutable differences. Correct. And such, not
also,
diversity of opinion or thought.
Ridiculous.
Well, yeah, exactly, because that's just implied at this point. But if you look at the boxes and the way they're laid out, if you go back to the previous one, there really is, like, the way that they do it. See how it just says male and there's like nothing there? It just looks so, I mean, that's, it's a weird way that they've divided this. I think it creates division. I think it doesn't focus on what the real, I mean, look, if you define yourself by your identity, you're not. If the most interesting thing about you is your identity, you're not very interesting. I've always thought that, right? Like, I don't care, like, tell me what your experience is, what your passion is. And look, I think that the industry has been organically diverse. It's moved slow, but organically. And this is a way to kind of speed that up. And what it's doing is it's hurting the industry. So there will be a story on the site. And it's also, this is being used to discriminate. It's 100% being used to discriminate. So, where there's going to be a story on the Film Threat site later this week. The issue is, does this person want to come out and nuke their career, or do they want to remain anonymous and just make sure everything is factual? That is to be determined. But there will be a story about this, and that's in addition to the D-Files that's happening. What's weird is this. I mean, Film Threat, we have done investigative stories in the past. In 1993, we spearheaded covering sexual harassment and the casting couch in the industry, to the point where SAG finally responded. But the main complaint were actors that were upset that some actors would trade sexual favors for being cast in films. And that was in 1993. There are other investigative stories that we've done comparing the hierarchy of Hollywood to the caste system in India. But more than ever now, people are reaching out. People in the industry are reaching out to Film Threat. Maybe it's because it's an outlet they've known since the 90s, the 80s and 90s, when Film Threat was a print magazine. And they probably remember Film Threat being one of the very first movie websites in 1996. When I think there are more outlets covering movies now than movies being made in a year. That's just fact.
Well, Chris, they call you the ancient one. They call you the ancient one. I'm here to say, though, I think this is your best. The last 3 months or so, I mean, you all have, I mean, the scoops you have gotten with the Wish movie and the process behind the scenes of the animation and this story that you picked up, these are the biggest stories any outlet could hope for.
Well, here's my point in this. Why are people in the industry at high levels reaching out to Film Threat of all places? There's Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, IndieWire, Deadline, The Wrap. Those are all your mainstream trade publications, effectively mouthpieces for regurgitating.
Mouthpieces, I like that. Good slip, Chris.
You answered the question right there. They're mouthpieces for the industry, so they're not trusting those guys to get the truth out there.
They print press releases as news, and occasionally, though, to be fair, Variety and the Reporter do good reporting when they can do sort of a workaround, right?
Yes, they do.
I mean, what was that story? Was it Variety about Marvel a couple months ago that exposed like what's wrong with Marvel? Like, occasionally they do dip into real journalism. It happens. But,
Lou, have we ever talked about? Have we ever given the folks an understanding of what you have to do with the guilds? You specify however you'd like.
My thought is the fact that they're reaching out. The fact that they're reaching out to me tells me something. It tells me that the trade publications that I just mentioned are compromised, meaning like most mainstream media outlets, they represent one side of the political aisle only. And if there's another side saying, hey, something might be wrong here, like, would you like to have another opinion represented? From the beginning, I've done my best to keep Film Threat politically agnostic. We don't subscribe. I mean, look, if you read the Film Threat website, we cover everything from the latest drag queen documentary on one side, and on the opposite side, a movie like a documentary. We cover all the Daily Wire movies, but we covered a documentary called The Boys in Red Hats, which was about the Covington kids who wore MAGA hats and confronted the Indian at the Capitol. That thing which Nick Sandman was completely smeared and then won a lawsuit. So we covered that. We covered that document. All I'm saying is Film Threats, like, if it's an indie movie, we cover it. Now, technically speaking, most indie movies are left-leaning. They just are. And our writers group at Film Threat is very diverse. I'd say more of our writers are left-leaning than not. But then you also have people who write for Film Thread who are Christian conservatives. That's the kind of diversity I'm all about. Now, organically, Film Thread just happens to be diverse, but I don't think of Alan, who is my co-host on the Film Thread YouTube channel. I don't think of Alan as my Asian friend. I think that's stupid. Alan,
I think of him as your Asian first, always, absolutely.
No, but this
he's
is what
Kato to your Green Hornet.
No, but just like Alan's my friend, he's a very good writer, and has immense integrity when it comes to this. We have conversations about this stuff all the time. But our group of writers, which number 30 from all over the world, are all over the place, right? So if you're going to read films, you're going to read a diversity of opinions. I don't know of any other outlet that's a Hollywood outlet that is like that at all. And you're even discouraged from thinking certain ways. And Al and I have even been in public sometimes, at some of these events that we go to, and where we just like, can we even have like a conversation like the one we're having right now in public? For me, I'm tired of it. I'm done with it. I'm done. I'm done kowtowing to the stupid. And this is what this is. It's meant to divide. It's meant to allow companies to be like, I've never even in a meeting, I could not think when I hire anybody as a writer, what do I care about? How long they've been writing about film? Do you have samples? And what are the types of films that you tend to gravitate to? Because that will determine what movies we pass along to this person. Do you like romantic comedies? Great. Do you like documentaries? Yes, mostly pop culture documentaries. Do you like documentaries? Yes, but I like documentaries that are political in nature. Fine. But I would never, under any circumstance, sit there and quiz someone about their background or what they do. The only person that should care about my sexual identity is the person I get naked with, which hopefully is just one person, right? So that's it. No, I'm being real.
No, I'm with you. Totally with you.
This is offensive. And if the Writers Guild is asking me what my sexual identity is, you've crossed the line. I've never asked questions like that in any hiring practice in any capacity ever. This crosses a line. I'm sure and what I think that they're doing is they're testing the limits. Now, the way they get around it, I've spoken to some other people who've been confronted with other surveys like this. The thing that they get around it by saying, this is optional. You don't have to do it. Yet they continue to send this out like, hey, you haven't filled it out yet, but it's okay. You don't have to do it. But they're sending this out to members on a consistent basis who haven't filled it out yet. This is wrong. This is a wrong way for the industry to go. I believe merit-based system is the way to go. I think that's proven to work throughout history. I mean, this whole seems unrelated, but not really. The situation with Boeing, kind of related in a sense. We've lowered standards. We cannot afford to do this as a society, and this will kill the industry.
And folks, we are done. We are out. We are over it. We're moving on. But before we do, you could help us out. Consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, so waste not yours. Share it with the world down below. Join the dialogue of an entire community. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.